Hi, and welcome back to Creative Cooking. I'm your happy host, Dr. Helen, and I'm so glad you decided to stop by today. I hope you've been watching all of our episodes to find out just wonderful ways and get great ideas on how to make food that helps to support reversing type 2 diabetes. If you haven't seen all the other episodes, you got to go back and see them after you watch this one, because we have some incredible recipes for you, and I know you're going to love them, and it's exciting for us, and I know it'll be exciting for you. Now today we have our episode entitled "It's Not Coffee Time." Right? Coffee is like one of the major drinks. Like, everybody drinks coffee. It's the most commonly consumed drink in the world, and we know that there are some issues with drinking coffee, right? We do know that coffee is a stimulant, and it actually works by stimulating the central nervous system. It stimulates not only your brain, but your spinal cord and all of the nerves. And that may be good in some ways because it's going to increase focus and concentration and decrease fatigue, but it comes at a price, because after so much of doing that, it doesn't work quite the same way. It starts to require more and more caffeine to get the same effect that you once had. I remember when I was in residency, I was on call the entire night, and then I had to take in-service exams the next day, and I had a nurse that would call me for the littlest things, and I didn't get much sleep that night. So if somebody had a headache, she'd say, "Can I give them some Tylenol?" And I'm saying, "Hey, that's what the order is for. Give them the Tylenol. Don't wake me up." But she did anyway. So that night, I didn't get very much sleep. And the next day, I had to take the in-service exam, which was a 4-hour exam after being on call all night. Well, I didn't know what to do. And my friend said, "Just drink some coffee." And I said, "Okay, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm going to try it." And I drank some coffee, and I was sitting in the chair taking that exam, and I was moving around like, I felt like I may had some kind of hyperactivity disorder because I couldn't really sit still. I was very, very sensitive to it because it just caused more jitteriness and more nervousness. Now I did have some concentration and some focus at the same time, but I was also kind of jittery at the same time, and that wasn't very comfortable. So I wanted to find some other ways that I can get what I needed without having the caffeine. So that's when I kind of started all this quest on eating better so that I had more energy and I wouldn't have to worry about needing something to get me going in the morning. I was concerned about things like overstimulation, and that it really becomes an issue, particularly with people who are already having problems with their adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are the glands that are really tiny little instruments. They're just like the size of a walnut and sit on top of your kidneys. You have 2 of them, so 1 on each side, but they do like a myriad of work. They are controlling your blood pressure. They're controlling your fight or flight. So their adrenaline and your epinephrine, that same word, your adrenaline or noradrenaline are things that it actually secretes. It also secretes like a hydrocortisone. It also helps with just maintaining what do we call it? We call it homeostasis, just so that you're calm. And we know that an excess of this cortisol can cause so many problems, including the problem of bone loss, because it actually causes more of a breakdown. You need a little cortisone to get you started every day, a little cortisol to get you started every day. But if you keep going, if it keeps getting stimulated, it gets fatigued. And we call that condition adrenal fatigue, or more recently, we've changed that term to adrenal insufficiency. And so we're trying to combat that and not overstimulate our adrenal glands with caffeine. And caffeine is found in so many different things. It's found in coffee, obviously. It's found in tea, and it's also found obviously in chocolate. And we sometimes think that if we're drinking tea that it's not a problem, but black tea can actually have just as much caffeine as a coffee can have. And so that becomes a problem. So when we were growing up, we only drank herbal teas. And I have a little secret for you that I'm going to share with you a little bit later about some of the herbal teas that we had growing up, so I can tell you how things change with time. Now, because of the problem that we said. We don't want the jitteriness. We don't want the just the feeling of uneasiness, and we don't want to have withdrawal symptoms, which is another thing that it causes when you've been accustomed to drinking coffee and you don't have it. You end up having these rebound headaches, and we're trying to get rid of all of that stuff, right? Because we are trying to have health as our new currency, because health is wealth, and that's the currency we want to spend. We want healthy to be the new normal. So we're going to show you 3 different coffee substitutes that you can use that will help you with still the taste, still the feeling, without the untoward effects. Okay, so let's get started on our first one. Here are the ingredients for our chicory vanilla nut espresso. We're going to start with a tablespoon of vanilla nut chicory. We'll do 2 cups of water, a tablespoon of maple syrup. If desired, you don't have to have it sweetened if you don't like. And then we're going to do some steamed milk. Now, here's how we're going to get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we have our chicory here, and we are going to put it in our coffee maker. Now, we're going to use the drip process because it gives you a richer flavor when you drip it into the coffee cup instead of just pouring it over the chicory itself. It just makes sure that it intensifies the flavor. So we're going to pour that in, and then we're going to pour in our 2 cups of water right into the coffee maker. It's already on and it's ready to brew. Yes, that's good. Okay. Now we have it on, and we're going to allow that to just start getting all of the flavor out of that vanilla nut chicory. So it's going to drip into it. And while that is going on, we are going to start steaming our milk. Now, this steaming of the milk I used to do in a pot over the stove, and you can certainly do that. Just take a pot and put some milk in it and just use some steamed milk to get the espresso. With espresso, we want to have more of the chicory flavor and less of the steamed milk because coffee drinkers really want that intense, robust flavor, and so we're going to get some intense, robust flavor too. Now, I have had an opportunity to since purchase a coffee steamer and frother because I was doing it in my high-speed blender, and it does froth, so I was very satisfied with it, but I thought I would up the ante, kind of up my game and make it a little bit more fancy. So I got this great steamer. So what I'm going to do is put in some milk. And I'm using oat milk because I find that oat milk actually allows it to froth better than some of the other plant-based milks. So we're going to actually just do our oat milk instead of some of the other ones. It doesn't mean that you can't use them. I just think that this one froths a little bit better. And that's kind of what I'm looking for when I do this. So milk, there are so many different types of plant-based milks. You can use coconut milk, you can use almond milk, there's soy milk, but make sure your soy milk is non-GMO. That's important because more than 90% of soybeans have been genetically modified, and I just don't think your body knows what to do with it. I like my food to be natural, and I tell you, the first time I went into the store and they said natural food section, I thought, well, what does that mean? Like, shouldn't all food be natural? But all food is not natural. It's actually been tampered with, and so we're seeing more diseases as we're seeing more tampering. Now, I didn't do any research to say, is that the cause? But it certainly is a trend, and I'd like to stay away from those kinds of trends. So I am letting all of my, it's nicely bubbling out there and coming through, and I can feel my milk getting nice and hot and steaming up, and it's making some froth in there for me. I'm so excited about this because it comes out really, really cute. It's going to froth, but I'm going to use most of the milk instead of the frothing for our espresso. And you see I have our nice little espresso cups because we're just doing like little amounts of the coffee. Now, as we were talking about the plant-based milks, I have used any of those plant-based milks for different applications. So for this particular issue, I use oat milk. For other things, I might want to use coconut milk if I'm looking for the flavor or I want the thickness of it. If I'm eating a cereal or a granola, I'm probably going to want to use almond milk because it has a more similar taste to what I remember milk tastes like or had the consistency of. I found the same thing to happen with the oat milk, and since I can buy oat milk in bulk, I started buying more oat milk. Because we use it all the time at home. So this is what I am using for this particular application. The other problem that I found with using something like a coconut milk for this particular application is that it has kind of a thickness that I don't find that appealing for this particular type of drink. So as we allow yes, it looks like it's slowing down. So as we allow our espresso, our chicory espresso to die down or to come all the way through, I wanted to just mention to you the benefits of chicory. Chicory is really high in fiber, and it actually has a similar taste and even a similar color to coffee. And because it's high in fiber, it's going to help you with cholesterol. It actually helps to control blood sugar levels, actually increases insulin sensitivity, some studies may have found. And so that is really great for what we're trying to do here. We are trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, but we want you to still have a wonderful lifestyle so that you feel like you're not missing out on things. So we're going to have a nice little substitute for you. And this is pretty simple. So I'm going to start with just putting in my sweetener. This is maple syrup, and I'm going to put my maple syrup in here because I'm going to mix it with my chicory in here and then just give it a stir so that it's nicely mixed together. And so I think I will use this one. No, this one. Okay. So here we go with this. And I'm going to mix it in my glass here. Giving it a nice stir. Now, one of my friends tried this and said, wait a minute, that's not coffee? No, it's not coffee. Now, with an espresso, it's mostly espresso and then a little bit of steamed milk. So I'm going to pour here, and I'm going to pour here. And then I'm going to top it with some steamed milk. And this is a really cool gadget because it just shuts off when it's ready. All right, and some steamed milk on top. And some steamed milk on top. Now, there we have it. There is our espresso. Isn't that exciting? You can still feel like you're drinking it without the damage of the coffee. There's so many things that I could tell you about what coffee does, but I'm going to start with our next recipe. Our next one is going to be a chai latte, and I'm so excited about this one. It's really kind of fun to make and really fun to drink. We're going to use 4 whole cloves, 2 cardamom pods, 3 cups of water, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/8 of a teaspoon of coriander, 1/2 cup of non-dairy milk, 2 tablespoons of honey or maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of rooibos tea, or 3 to 4 tea bags, and 1 cinnamon stick for garnish. I can't wait for you to try this one. Okay, so we are ready to make our chai latte. Now, I love this chai latte, and I have my nice mortar and pestle here. And I do this because I like the essence of the cloves when I actually pound it myself. So I'm going to put in my 4 cloves here, and I'm going to put in 2 cardamom pods, like that. And then I'm going to pound them and smash them so that the flavors are in the bottom of this. They're released, and then I can use them in my concoction for my latte. Now, we were in Dubai, and they actually had a latte that we could, yes, they had this chai latte that we could drink. It was so good. I still have stains on the back of my white jeans because I sat on my latte while I was looking at some clothes. They were so gracious because I spilled latte all over the floor in the store that we were in. They gave us latte in the store. That was so cute. But it was so delicious before it spilled on my pants. I don't want to do that again. So here we're going to put all of our ingredients in the pan, and I'm going to turn my heat on medium. I'm going to put in my cinnamon. I'm going to put in my vanilla. I have my coriander and ginger. And then I'm going to put in my water. Obviously, you don't have to do it in this order. You can put your water in first. So I'm going to let that steam. And then while I am allowing that to meld, I'm going to just stir it around nicely. Okay, I'll put that there. And then I am going to start brewing my rooibos. Now, I told you I was going to tell you a little bit of something about my rooibos. So when I was growing up, we only drank herbal teas. And the only tea that I recall that wasn't medicinal, at least we thought, was red tea. And we used to call that tea caffrey tea. And I just remember enjoying the taste of caffrey tea so much. And then all of a sudden, as an adult, we couldn't find it anymore. Like, I could not find caffrey tea. And then it came back in a more sophisticated term called rooibos. So that was funny. I was like, that's just caffrey tea. What are they talking about? That's caffrey tea. But caffrey tea is amazing. I'm going to actually pour some water in so we can steep our caffrey tea too. I called it caffrey tea. I don't even think anybody knows the name of that anymore, so I guess I'm kind of dating myself. So I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to let that brew, and that's going to take a couple of minutes. But while that is happening, I'm going to just make sure I stir nicely my spices in here. You can really smell it. All of the spices that are just kind of wafting through the air. So you know it's going to be tasty. Now, I'm not going to sweeten this until kind of the end, because I'm just not going to heat up the honey. It's all right. If I did, it would be fine too. But I just want to make sure that this is just combined nicely. And I decided to hold off on sweetening it because I want to strain it first and then put the sweetener in it. And then that way we can make sure of that there's no sweetener that's left behind in the straining process. So we'll do that. Now, I'm going to start my straining, and I'm going to get this process here. I'll strain it out of here. So it catches behind all of the fragments there, and I will turn off the heat so that I don't burn myself. Now I'm going to sweeten it. Still waiting for my brew. Okay. There we go. Okay, I can smell that. It's so nice. I can smell the cinnamon, and I can smell the cardamom, the cloves. When we were growing up, if I had a toothache, or if somebody in my family, one of the many of us had a toothache, my mom would give us clove because she would use it for its anti-inflammatory effect in the mouth. And since I've gotten older and recognized that all of these special herbs and spices are anti-inflammatory, so that has really been a great benefit to us. so that we can decrease the process of inflammation so that we don't have all of those free radicals that cause disease. That's what inflammation is, right? This inflammatory process is all of these free radicals just kind of going crazy in the process of metabolism or breathing, whatever the case may be. We talked about some of the toxins that we might be breathing in with formaldehyde. But we are going to take our brew and place it in here with it. And then we will be able to plate it with our milk, which I will start now. So we're going to take milk and put it into here to our line. And so now the coffee is brewing out and my froth is looking really good. And I have this all mixed up over here. So I'm gonna move this over. I'm gonna pour this back into the pan so I can, actually put my sweetener in already. Then I'm going to take my coffee and mix it in together with it. And my other one. Perfecto. Alrighty, actually I'll put this over here. And now I'm just going to pour it into a new one because this will make it easier for me to pour. Alrighty. Okay. Now, even the sound of it sounds good. And then I'm going to put some of my steamed milk and then scoop out some of my frothy milk here. And a little bit of froth and steam. There we go, and a little bit of froth. Perfecti. All righty. Now we are ready and good to go. So that was our delicious, delicious chai latte. Now, our last one is our figgy cappuccino, and the instructions and the ingredients, I guess I should say, is 1 tablespoon of the fig brew, 4 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and steamed milk. I think I'm going to change that to 2 cups of water instead of 1 because I want to make it a little bit stronger. So we'll do it just like that. And our final one is going to be so delicious. So we got our brew going there, and then we're going to mix it with our sweetener. So I'm going to pour the sweetener into the bottom here. Just make sure it's all in. And then our figgy brew, it's coming up here. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, it smells so good. Already smells good. All righty. Now to plate, we'll pour it in. Now, cappuccinos are supposed to have more milk in them, so we're going to use our milk and just a little bit of froth. And there you have it. Look at that. Now we have our substitutes. We don't have to have our coffee to damage our adrenal glands. We could actually have the taste without having the untoward effects. We can have the beauty of our cappuccino, of our lattes, and our espressos without damaging the adrenal glands and getting all those cortisol levels, getting all out of control and discombobulated and causing osteoporosis and things of that nature because our adrenal glands are being overworked so much. The other thing that's really important about it is that it helps to control our blood pressure levels, because if the adrenals are not working very well, then you may have some problems with the adrenal glands that you would not normally have. So, I'm sorry, you may have some problems with your blood pressure that you would not normally experience. So it is really important to make sure that we treat our bodies with the utmost respect. Our bodies are temples, right? So they will be treated as temples. And that helps us to make health an important part of our lives, so that health is wealth. It is the currency we want to spend, and we want healthy to be the new normal. So reversing type 2 diabetes is just that, really just making health our priority, but eating deliciously while we prioritize our health. So today we've made these 3 delicious meals, 3 delicious drinks. We have our espresso, we have our latte, and we have our cappuccino. Now, if you go to some local store and you find these items, they won't taste anything like this, because we are going for the depth of flavor, and we made them individually with our hands, not processed. It's not going to be added sugars, but just natural sugars. And that makes such a huge difference when we're reversing type 2 diabetes. We talked about the benefits of having chicory with its fiber, lowering of cholesterol. We talked about it helping to balance our glucose levels, and so does the rooibos. The rooibos tea does a very similar thing by making the insulin more sensitive. It also helps with many antioxidants, and it also has like these tannins that are a lot less than the tannins that are really the problems in the black teas, that will help so that it doesn't cause as much of a toxic buildup as those tannins in the black teas, and it doesn't beat down on those adrenal glands as the black teas or the coffees. So for all of you coffee drinkers out there who thought that there was not an alternative to having that hot drink or that hot taste in the morning, or you were just wanting something different than just having an herbal tea at times, just think about the multiplicity of ways that you'd be able to use these options that we have provided for you today. All of them are easily accessible. You can get them at your local health food stores. They're available for you to use, so you won't have to be searching too far. I am so excited to be able to present them to you today. I know that you're going to love them. We love them in my home, and I think you're going to love them in yours. Invite some friends over. Sit down, have a latte. Sit there, watch a movie, have a cappuccino. Sit and have your espresso in the morning. You won't regret, and your adrenals will be so happy, and they will thank you for it. Have a great day.